gentlemen.
Yeah.
Didn't know if you got a chuckle out of that text when he was like,
Oh yeah,
hey.
I showed Marilyn. I was like, "This is how we're communicating now, Marilyn.
My lady.
we're all ladies now." I was dying on that shit. I was like, "Okay, he's gonna start a trend."
This podcast is brought to you by Titty Tassel. Get your wife a pair. That's too much.
That's way. It's the reason why I do the
The intros.
yeah.
I like doing the outros.
You let me know when we're ready.
Been ready.
Oh yeah, of course. You record every damn thing.
Been recording.
All right, Nick.
Tassels and all.
You ready?
we'll give her a try.
Damn it, Nick. When you get on this horse, you just gotta stay on it.
Yeah.
It's gonna make abrupt movements.
Sudden stops.
Yeah.
I've ridden a horse once.
Well, there
Yeah?
you go.
Yeah, but was it one of those?
Pull your shirt down. Just see, there you go.
Okay. Was it one of those like just sit on a horse's saddle and then just follow the guided trail?
You walk around the zoo? No. I think we did something in Hawaii where we did some horseback riding, kind of cruised around.
Oh, okay.
Coast side.
That's fun and
Yeah, that would be badass.
That was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
But still, you had
that's-
that experience. I
you had-
never had that experience.
I want to go.
it's so much fun.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. You've
I've
been
twice.
twice.
Yep.
You bastard.
This podcast is brought to you by Titty Tassels. Not only cowboys can lasso.
I don't think that intro is going to stick
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
I think we
like titty tassels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they stickers? God damn it, stop. Let's stop this. This is madness.
For the women with those big areolas, get your titty tassels today.
Goodness.
buy one, get one free.
Oh
my editor
God.
says you could buy one and get one free. Just put in the promo code symptoms
Of nipples.
of nipples. The Patreon is up. You too can be a
Are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
Titty tassels and all.
yeah. I mean, if we put it out there, do you think Titty Tassel would sponsor the program?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
I think
Yeah.
you would have to know
Is that a
the
brand?
Yeah, you would have to know the brand,
Yeah.
to get it out there.
But our subscribers will be like, okay, we were talking positive stuff. Yeah, I get it. But the Titty Tassel just took me for a loop.
Yeah.
Let's
Maybe
let-
Snap on.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh, but that's like that's bondage. That's
Sarah Monroe would find a way to.
Well, Snap on's
Yeah.
the car tool stuff, right?
Yeah.
oh yeah.
With the fancy cases and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm not a mechanic, but
Yeah.
if anyone's going to have them, I suppose it'd be them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Snap-ons. Yeah, in a fancy case.
Mm-hmm.
Choose your color case. Let me
It
get
gets
this
your
going.
assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get
Watch
this
your foot.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
trying to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Nick Magnani.
Yeah.
I always like to say Nick Mangianani.
Man, yeah, 'cause something about it once you make like super Italian.
Right.
You want to like try to put all the syllables as you can in his
Yeah.
name.
I know this probably like 4 years ago. That's crazy to say, but 4 years ago when we were living in Wyoming,
Right.
no matter how many times Nick would tell us his last name, I would still go Mangianani.
Yeah.
Because clearly he doesn't even know how to pronounce his own last name.
And when I spoke to him, I literally would like to purposely make a bowl of spaghetti, call him up and say his last name,
Yeah.
just because I felt that Italian in me,
right.
you know.
Italian.
But when you speak to Nick, he doesn't resemble the
No.
normal Italian person.
And when I saw your picture on the Sweetwater,
That's an old one, yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I told Marilyn, I said, I bet you Nick runs around Sweetwater with dress shoes, slacks, and a bow tie every day.
Right. Well, for those of you that are musicians or maybe not podcasters and you get your equipment from Sweetwater, there's a great probability that the circled picture is a guy with a red bow tie. That
Orange.
Nick.
Orange.
Or orange. He's that guy, and we have him here in the
Yeah.
studio. He's famous in his own right.
He is. And just because he wears a bow tie doesn't mean he actually is the guy that should be wearing the bow tie.
I don't really wear the bow tie anymore. I did it for like the first year. I'm like, I got tired of tying this, but I'll break it out on occasion.
Oh, so wait a minute.
Wait, you were tying that
was
thing?
a
It
real,
wasn't even
I
a
thought it was
clip-on?
clip-on.
Who wears clip-ons? I tie all my bow ties.
Oh, you're a
you-
man's
I got
man.
the rotating rack, you know.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
got all the
yeah.
Different colors.
Yeah, you're a man's
organized by
man.
color.
Wait, you got a rotating rack?
That was a Christmas present. Yeah, I got the silly, like as seen on TV. You press the button, the little light turns on. And
Okay. What,
He went all in on the bow ties.
what we're going to do
it
after
was a
this
gift.
podcast, after this podcast, you will send us video and pictures of this
Okay,
here
Yes.
contraption.
We have to show this.
Yes, this
Yeah.
must be shared.
It's rigged up pretty silly, but it works. So
Yeah, but somebody gave it to you as a gift, and you were like, "Damn it, I'm using this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, real quick, tell the people who you are, what you do.
my name is Nicholas Magnani.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more Italian, less syllables. It all just blends together. Magnani. So
Yeah.
it's like mañana with
Yeah.
party at the end.
Yeah.
Magnani. But Mangione, Magnini, I've gotten like Magnum, Magnani.
Yeah.
I don't care as long as you call me for dinner. You know, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I work at Sweetwater as a sales engineer, and I have been doing so since 2015.
2015. How many years is that? That's almost.
That's 8 as
years.
of like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
That was my official anniversary.
Did you ever see yourself like saying like I'm going to work for a music company?
No, I never had like a dream job.
Right, but you were a musician before
Yep.
Sweetwater,
Yep.
correct? So I don't know. I thought about it. I mean, you know, like when Sam Ash and Guitar Thing or Guitar Center was a thing, you know, I think everybody was like, oh, how cool is that to work at a music store?
Well, it's definitely fun to work at a music store. And before working there, I had a sales engineer that I would talk to, and they called me up one time, asking me about this, that, or the other, and I was like, well, you know, works so and so, and they're like, well, you seem like a nice enough fellow. Why don't you come out here and check things out? Why not? You know, and so
Yeah.
So
that's,
what did?
that's about as basic as it gets.
But
Yeah.
did you get into like broadcasting and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I graduated from Iowa State University with a degree in music and music
Go
technology.
Buckeyes!
Yeah.
Cyclones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shows what I know. I think everybody in Ohio is a Buckeye.
Yeah, so Iowa has the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes. The
Oh,
two big guys,
okay,
so you're
okay,
close,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But after I graduated, I was looking for a job, and I was like, well, what kind of job do you get with a music degree besides like a musician?
Right.
Which those are hard to come by. So I thought, well, it's I'm looking for a job that's kind of close to home, trying to stay near the family and everything. And Mason City, Iowa was close enough because we had a cabin up there. And they were hiring at a TV station as a master control operator. So that's someone that basically watches TV all day, makes sure commercials go on time, you know, live segments go in time with everything else so everyone gets paid. And I applied there, and they called me back, and they're like, you sure you want to apply for this? I was like, you tell me, I guess.
Right.
They're like, well, you have a degree and you know about music. Looks like you can do some recording, voiceover stuff. You ever thought about doing production? I was like, sure. Why not? You know. And so they taught me a lot of the video editing stuff. I learned the video switcher, you know, reading scripts and pressing buttons and learning the whole segments of news. And I directed news for about 3 years prior to coming out to Sweetwater.
Get outta
and made
here.
commercials. Yeah.
So, but it was small town news then, I would imagine.
KMT TV is a CBS affiliate out of Mason City, Iowa. So we cover northern Iowa and southern Minnesota.
Okay, so fairly large.
Yeah, it's pretty good market.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to do the weather?
No, I did not have to do the weather, though it's always fun playing with the green screen. But
Right,
of course, running the shows, you know, I'd help the weatherman or weather person do the weather. And so they would tell me how they want the segments to come up, whether they want like the map versus the day versus like the radar and stuff like that. And then
Right.
Then we just watch the clock and let them do their thing. A lot of their stuff isn't scripted, which is really cool, at least for the people I worked with. But you have to put something in the prompter for people who like can't hear, you know. That's like
Right,
a legal
okay,
thing,
right.
so they have to have something in the prompter. But
Well,
I've never personally done the weather or been on air.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in front of the camera. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
always
well-
behind the scenes.
we don't have any damn prompters.
No, we don't.
Matter of fact, none of our stuff is scripted. Right off the cuff.
Go figure. You ever see the anchors go through a meltdown on live television? Like, holy shit, this
Well,
you can't do that on TV,
I
sir.
wouldn't say a meltdown, but I did have a coworker who would get the giggles from time to time.
Right.
And so there was a story, I think it was on like, I can't even remember. It must have been like cucumbers or something. And it was like a pre-packaged, it was like a pre-recorded thing. You just kind of let it play and then you kind of intro and outro it. And someone wrote some stuff for her to say in, and then the video went off, and then something was funny during the video, but something triggered this person, and she started giggling, and we come back, and she's like trying to talk, but no, she couldn't do it. We had to cut to someone else so she could read for it because she was losing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Super funny.
Yeah,
I
you
loved
put-
working there. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Right.
So what made you say, okay, I'm done with this?
Well, so because it was small and it's a smaller town, we were always like short staffed, and the shift that I was working was I think like 3:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, doing the morning shows, and there'd be times when people get sick or something comes up, something happens, and so they're like, hey, or even like breaking news, hey, we need a director in to come do this breaking news, or we're short staff for this spot, that spot. Can you come in? Sure. I'll come in. I'll do like a split shift. So I'll get done at 12:30 in the afternoon, take a nap, sleep, whatever, grab a bite, and come back at 2:00, and then work till 11, and then take a nap, sleep, come back, then do my regular shift again. So I was constantly working all the time, always doing overtime, which is fine. But for the amount of work I was doing, it wasn't balancing to like my home life. I'm always big on the work-home life balance, and that was getting tough. And then of course I was asking to help me out and pay me for my work or whatever. And like we don't have it in the budget, so I was like, okay, well, I'll probably have to look at some other things. And
Yeah.
there you go.
The old famous budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I have a lunch break? We
Yeah.
don't have it in the budget.
Yeah.
And I don't fault them. I mean,
Yeah.
all my friends there are great, and it was a lot of fun. I would totally do it. I continue to do it if it was feasible. But with what I wanted to do, with how I was feeling at home, it was just not balancing out.
Right.
So Sweetwater was right after that then?
Yep.
Okay.
I did a couple phone interviews, took some aptitude tests, and then they flew me out here for a tour and some more aptitude tests and interview with sales management. And then they said, yeah, pack your things, come on over here. You start at this date, and we'll see you then.
Well, what does an aptitude test consist of?
Well, there's a few of them. So there's like a typing test, right?
Okay.
And I'm sure it's different now because this again, it's like 8 years ago. But there's a typing test. There's like questions like, do you agree, strongly disagree, what have you? For X amount of it's that kind of like the Myers-Briggs test. Is that the IMT? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar with it, no.
Anyway, that's not a proven thing either, but it's kind of like that. It's basically like getting a test to get a basic judgment of your character.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So you do a couple of those, and then there's like a basic, like a gear test sort of thing, and then they fly you out, and then you do more of those. Just to double check your work, of course, since you're in person there, and then you actually get to sit down with sales management and talk about who you are and what you're looking for and that sort of thing.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that's where the whole person stuff and where the mojo from Sweetwater comes in. Obviously, is the communication. So.
Right. And, well, I'm going to date us, but like I said, the Sam Ash and the Guitar Centers.
They're still around.
They
are, but
so we're talking leaps and bounds now when it comes to Sweetwater. This is not your average music store. Sam Ash, you go in, you get a guy who knows a little bit about something for his department, and you kind of just, blindly guide your way through. Sweetwater, you have like someone with you, like you, holds your hand and makes sure that you're getting the viable option for the best price for your budget.
What you really
What you really want, what you need. It seems to me Sweetwater really deep dives for the person. It suits the person. And not only that, but they have a freaking slide. You have a restaurant. You have like a full-on museum,
Free arcade.
Free
arcade.
arcade.
Spa,
You
performance
offer
theater, yeah.
such the more experience. You're not just going there to shop. You're going
You
there
even
to
have
a
an
great
in-house
time.
urgent care or like
Right.
A doctor and nurse, yeah.
yeah.
But to
Right.
be fair, the majority of people don't experience the store, right? And so you still want to carry over that experience.
Yeah.
And having someone to talk to that's knowledgeable and stuff is always great. And I'm sure you get that at the various places, And for us, and like me specifically, like a sales engineer, we all run our business differently, right? So I like kind of going over everything, talking about stuff more than what's your question, what are you trying to do? Okay, here's what you want. How would you like to pay?
right.
There's a lot more involved in that because something like all this stuff connects to other things. So you
Right.
want to know from beginning to end how it all works, and it just makes a better experience for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
For those of you watching, right behind us, literally everything came from Sweetwater, and Nick was with us on this process.
Yeah.
I think one day we'll do a show and tell of all of the gear.
Yeah, a breakdown of what we have.
But when you started Sweetwater, what told you, okay, I'm gonna stick it out here? Was there a talent you didn't know you had, and you were like, I'm good at this?
Or was it the people in the atmosphere?
I think it's more of like the atmosphere thing. I've always been one to just work. Everyone's first job in Iowa was detasseling corn, right? And that's not a fun job by any means. I mean, you're walking out in the summer sun and you're pulling tassels, you're rogan,
Right.
stalks that ain't good. So, being able to, and I enjoyed that. I just walking around and listening to music, talking with people. I've always been one to just kind of work, and as long as I have the balance to live comfortably outside, and I'm not just like, oh, here's another day.
Right.
I come in. So on top of that, I get to talk with all sorts of cool people from all over, the place. I get to talk, look at all this cool stuff, play around with it, and obviously that was a passion that I had prior. So it all kind of is a nice centrifugal ball of just stuff feeding into stuff to feed back into itself. So it's kind of a
Right.
self-fulfilling, just self-fulfilling pleasure train.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It just kind of
Absolutely.
comes around.
Yeah.
Talk. Sure, there's always going to be people that don't get Sweetwater. That's not why they were looking. They just want the thing and on their way. But as long as you tell me you like to do that, that's fine.
Right.
I'm not gonna bug you here or there. I'm not gonna. If you don't want to talk about your day, what you're doing, you just want this thing and get out of there. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
step on
right.
your
I
toes,
respect
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when we first started calling Sweetwater, you were with us from the beginning till now, and it's been a crazy journey.
You moved across the country.
Moved across the country. Literally, you were
Yeah.
with us on our moves. You knew we were moving to Indiana before he knew we were coming
Yeah,
here.
such a wicked game
Kept
they
a
played.
secret for a year. To this day, I still don't know how Nick could tell us apart and how.
Not to spill the beans.
Right. That's it. That's amazing in itself because we call a guy a lot. I think we called him for our taxes one day. I don't even
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah. Sent you the orders from the previous year.
Yeah.
Right. But I
what-
just remember, I just want to say this. I remember ever since we were buying gear from, I say you and not even Sweetwater
Sweetwater,
because
right.
you
I'd
are,
prefer that,
yeah.
you are Sweetwater. And when I purchase gear, people, if you're into music and you are wanting to purchase something, when I called this gentleman, he said, what are you looking for? How easy do you need this thing to work for you? He started explaining about menu diving and, how intuitive some machines can be. We narrowed everything down to what my education level was, what gear essentially is going to work the best for me. And if I wasn't happy with something, or it just wasn't vibing right, or it wasn't working right, I would send it back. Nick would figure out the next best option. And then that was like, it was almost like I was turning into a snob at that point because of how you treated us and how we purchased things and your customer service. And it was just like, I feel like this dude is family and we haven't even connected on a physical level yet.
Right.
Because you just offered something more than a salesman. And I was just like, I was just taken back by it. Because it's like, screw the company Sweetwater. I'm dealing with somebody who actually cares about what I'm trying to do as a creator.
Yeah, you're dealing with an actual human being, an actual customer service representative.
Right.
Well, and if you're talking to someone and you don't care what they're doing, then the job's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I've always been a fan of asking why. It's like, hey, I want to buy this crazy so-and-so guitar. Oh, why?
Yeah.
Well, because I don't know. I like the color. Great. Yeah. What are you currently playing? And then it turns out they've got something that is completely different than what you're looking at. It's like, well, hey, so person, this is completely different than what you're used to. Is that what you're looking for? Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, maybe we'll probably need to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just by you
Yeah.
posing that question,
Question.
it just brings up other questions.
But I would have to, and I don't know, but you can maybe answer it. I would have to say most people that call there really don't have an idea of what they want. It's just that they see something and they think it looks cool. And
There's that, and then there's always like they don't have the ability to have it in their own hands. They don't have the stuff nearby, to go check it out for themselves. So having someone to speak intelligently about that, maybe convey what they're looking for. A lot of our job is trying to decipher the questions, clients are asking us. Because there's always, what's the best this? Is this better than this? Those are all very subjective to
Right.
yeah,
what's going on at the time. So there needs to be a deeper conversation when it comes to those questions, especially when conversations are led with those questions. It's like, what do you mean best?
Right.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
do you have that buyer who thinks, and let's just say he's a beginner, maybe intermediate player, who he's calling you, he's like, I gotta have this Les Paul Gibson. It's gonna make me be a better player. You ever have someone just think by buying that expensive instrument, it's not going to help them? It's like, because it's the player that makes the instrument.
Yeah, well, the fortunate thing, and one of the things that I really appreciate about Sweetwater is you get to talk with a lot of people, right, every day, and in that you get to experience a lot of different people's thought processes. And there's some people that they need the thing that does what they're looking for, and there's other people that actually do very well with, hey, I want to get into this. I have no idea, what I need, but I just want to buy this, and
Right.
this will make me pick it up. And it does, and that's one of the things I talk about, especially like with guitars. You want an instrument that makes you want to pick it up, right? And
Right.
basses, what have you. Even, microphones or setting up software or whatever, does it make you want to open it? Does it make you want to do stuff? Sure, yeah, then great. It should work out just fine for you.
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with people's dreams, and their journey can either be a pleasant journey or it can be crushed right at the beginning. And that beginning can be a bad salesman.
That, and we're also helping people who are, trying to help people with their dreams. So it's not just the people's with their dreams. It's like the grandparents, right? And they want to know they're getting the right thing. It's like, hey, my grandson is into this, and I was going to buy this for him for Christmas. Like, oh, great. Does he have this? And he's like, yep. Okay, great. If he doesn't, then did he ask you for this?
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
yes. Okay, then there's probably something I don't know that we'll need to figure out later, right?
Right.
Or if they said, well, no, I saw this and he says he does this, so it works, right? Not necessarily all the time. So
Right. So have you ever had a situation where you were like, you really don't need
I was just
to
going to ask
buy
that.
this?
I was
Like,
just going to ask that.
yeah, all the time.
really?
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this, and it's like, okay, get to talking, and then it turns out they already have the stuff that they need to do. It's just maybe a change of workflow that hadn't crossed their mind because they're so ingrained in their current workflow. And if it's a feasible enough switch, it's like, why don't you just do this instead? You probably don't need to buy this, or
Right.
maybe you just need to. You're maybe not utilizing your equipment to its fullest potential, or just try a different combination of stuff, and you'll get what you're looking for.
Right. It's so not like a car salesman. You know,
I've never
different.
liked the term salesperson.
Yeah, 'cause
Right.
you don't want to be selling anybody anything.
I
You
kinda
just want to
feel
help
like-
them acquire their purchase with the
Yeah.
most knowledge behind it as possible.
Well, that and no one likes to go through a return, so
no, no.
Yeah.
it makes
But I-
my job easier if I ask those questions.
Right. But
Right.
I kind of feel like you're our family broker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got gun brokers.
I've always looked at the job as whenever someone's calling me, they're walking into my store. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
Nick at Sweetwater. I
Yeah.
say that all the time. I sound like a broken record saying that, but it's, hey, Nick at Sweetwater, how are you going? Oh, hey, Jim, Pam, Sue, how are you doing? And it's like I like to think of it as a in-store experience, just over the phone.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's never been I'm a salesperson for Sweetwater. It's I'm the sales engineer and Sweetwater fills my store. sort of
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Because when I call, I go, oh, I'm calling Nick. Sweetwater's never a word that I use. I'm calling Nick, and Meryl goes, oh boy. But it's gotten to the point now where Nick knows I can't just buy anything.
Right.
Well, that and we had to make sure that Marilyn was like, oh, it's okay for him to buy this.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He knows that there's another
Yeah.
counsel that has to be.
Yeah. You'll call him and he's
Yeah.
like, well, did your wife approve this?
Yeah.
Because
He's
I'm going
like,
to call her and find out.
Yeah, we'll speak.
Yeah, we will speak.
People think that's a joke. That's not a
It's
joke.
not a joke
It
at
literally, the dude has to go through a different chain of command before I'm able to purchase anything.
Right.
Or I think Nick knows if it's under $200, this is going to be a safe purchase.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you haven't talked to Marilyn about
Yeah. Dude, you're trying to be a shareholder in the business.
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculous. I'm going to have to call Marilyn.
it's a yellow card.
Yeah, that
yellow
is the
card.
yellow
It's
card.
under. We're going to flag this account right now.
However, when you walk into Sweetwater, when we took that tour, and where you work, is that what they call the call center or whatever?
Well, so there's a sales floor, there's a second floor,
Sales floor.
and then there's the mezzanine that looks over it.
Yeah, I've never seen such
A well-designed.
plethora of different personalities, different hairstyles, different attitudes, different looks.
attire.
And I imagine people are just jamming out like 24/7 in their cubicle, just like, and you just hear like little pockets of like music.
Well, if you do that, then you're not getting your job done.
Right. Yeah.
But people do that on a lunch break. I do as well. I keep a little like banjo at my desk. I have a little banjo mute on there, so I'm not too loud. And
Right.
got a little guitar. And I'm a fan of taking naps on my lunch break, so I don't eat too much. And so there's a little
Right.
lounge you can go out there. But yeah, there's groups of people there that do their own bands. They do podcast stuff.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun things.
I just like how every cubicle you look at
it's different.
is that person's.
like world.
Yeah.
Well, we spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time there,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's nice to be comfortable. And then, of course, when you need to take a break or walk away, do something, having a comfortable atmosphere like the rest of the building is nice to
To walk
wander
around. So is there a dedicated place for you to take a nap?
Yeah. There's the sales engineer lounge that's in the back corner.
Oh, see, now
Now tell me this.
that is hold on.
There's
For
it's like
all you-
couches and chairs.
For all you business operators out there, you need a damn lounge area so your employees can take a nap.
Yeah.
That would be so productive.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm feeling a little heavy-eyed today, Bob. I'm going to go to the lounge, take a nap, refresh my senses.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to do it responsibly, though. You
Yeah.
know, some people don't wake up to alarms and stuff like that.
Right.
So you have to know yourself. You
Yeah.
want to go subconscious, you know?
Yeah, if you're that
At
guy
work.
that just can't wake up, he
Or
just
you
ends
snore
up.
loud.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't want to do it on the clock either, of course.
Right.
That's
Oh,
never
yeah.
a good business practice.
No matter how much you sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now tell me this. There's a lot of personalities where you work.
Mm.
Shit, they've even named most of the pathways after streets or avenues
Or songs, yeah.
or songs.
songs.
Okay. Who's the villains in there where everybody goes, oh no, he or she is here, and everyone knows to stay away. You don't have to say any names. You don't have to give any.
No, I wouldn't say they're villains because one again we're all in our own little world most of the time, and then in that one world we work in groups called neighborhoods. So we're all kind of looking after each other and helping out, and it's kind of pockets of just people that looking over other people. But I wouldn't say there's any sort of villain. There's always a groan if there's like an IT update or something where we have to like not do work, when we're especially when in the middle of work, something happens. They're like, hey, we need to run this quick thing. Then everyone's like, okay, well, now it's my time to go get another cup of coffee, go to the bathroom.
Right. But who's the sour apple in the neighborhood where you just like, why aren't you being a friendly neighbor? Why aren't you getting along with the community, sir?
Well,
I know you don't wanna-
there isn't even anything like that because
Okay.
yeah, it's not. You're expected to add to the community, right?
Yeah.
But if you happen to be struggling and you either don't say anything or you don't know who to talk to, there's someone that essentially sits right next to you. It's like, hey, I've been hearing you on the phone. You could try this instead, or hey, I noticed you've been struggling with this. I don't know if you talked to anyone about it, but here's what I do.
Right.
It's not to find the bad apples. It's to help people. Not
Okay.
become
So you
bad
got a
apples.
clean work environment, it
Yeah,
sounds
clean
like.
workspace.
Where you just not.
Of
you don't-
course.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Sweetwater.
And granted, there's hundreds of people on the sales floor.
Right.
So
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's
Yeah.
it's just
It's a
huge.
jungle, dude.
But now I would imagine in the warehouse, it's a different way of life in that.
it's a different
place.
anthill, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah. I bet that anthill is chaotic. I bet you they're not ants in a colony in there. It's
Yeah.
every ant for themselves.
Well, I wouldn't say it's chaotic. You're very structured back there, as you would hope. I mean, you don't want to order like a $3,000 guitar and get a pair of drumsticks.
Right, right.
There's a lot of organization that goes back there, but
Yeah.
it's just never quiet. Everyone's moving and all
Okay.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's chaotic.
No? Okay. I would imagine like you guys ship a lot of products
Mhm.
daily.
Worldwide.
I'm not even talking annually, but daily, and often to people who live only 30 minutes away.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's wild in itself. But I want to ask this. We're huge on communication
Mm.
with humanity and how a lot of us suck at it. And we all
Yeah.
maybe not all of us, but we all have watched media and we've all watched negative things on the infowebs. And to us, communication has to be like number one. It's the reason why we're doing this
Right.
podcast is to prove that, we all have something in common. And if we can just stop being so freaking lazy
Mm.
and immersed in ourselves, we can ultimately mingle with anybody on this planet, even if we don't know the language. There is a way. God dog it, I'll draw signs in the sand if I have to.
Yeah.
But, your wife
Mhm.
is from China.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not even going to butcher what province she's from.
Mhm.
I'll let you do that. But
Yeah. You get in there, you mess that up.
take
Yunnan
us
province is what it is.
okay, take
Yunnan.
us on the journey of how you did not let this stop you from having a beautiful long marriage and just an adventure.
Yeah, so when I moved out here, I don't have any friends or family out here, and of
Well, you
course,
do
being
now.
we're right when I had time to build that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But being single, of course, you want to start finding a companion or someone to talk to, someone to date. Everyone's goal to well, I should say most people, but I would like to be with someone, and so I trying all the dating apps, and it was just never really like working out, and so kept it going. And in today's day and age, it always seems like that's just the way to meet people now is an app. But I was on a few of them scrolling through, and there would be experiences here or there where I'd get to interact with someone and it didn't work out for whatever reason, or it turns out some it was a completely different experience in person versus the application. And one evening, Lena, is what she goes by, messaged me and had said she liked my profile, and so I said, "Well, thank you, and I like yours too." And we talked briefly there, and she's like, "Would you like to go out and meet for lunch or dinner?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure, of course. That's an easy way to, well, for me to be happy is eating." So,
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and so
Wait. So she's texting this in
she
English?
messaged me, which first off, right there, that was a big difference because it's always been like myself to initiate conversations. So having someone actually reach out to me was different, right?
So was it Google Translate?
No, so we were on OkCupid.
Okay.
Yep, and she was messaging me in English, and I actually just found out recently her aunt was helping her type the stuff at the beginning. But so when we met, I met her, and we started talking. She has a heavy accent, and it's not like a construction English like what we have, like what we're talking here. It's thought out. It's simple and effective communicating. And so we met the diner, on Coldwater. That's not there anymore. And we had let's see, I think I had a burger and she had like chicken, and we were just chatting about stuff. And as I was trying to ask questions, I realized they weren't quite landing, and so I figured, well, I'll break out Google Translate and start typing stuff. And so we started just doing that back and forth, just really simply, and found out that that's something that I wasn't getting out of other relationships or people that I've met before, attempted to have relationships, is the communicating.
right.
It's almost like an assumption that they are understanding what I'm implying or thinking about or going to say. But here, it's more like, well, I want to make sure she understands because I don't want there to be a misunderstanding. And so if I'll say something doesn't look like it sticks, then I'll try and translate it. If that doesn't look like it sticks, I'll try and say it a different way. And then after a couple of meetings of doing that back and forth, I was like, well, I like her. She's really nice. So I'm going to try and learn another language just to make it easy for her. And she's already learning, English anyway. So
So at no point you felt, take me back to the first that first date. At any point did you feel like this isn't going to work? This is too much. This is just so discouraging.
I did have a thought like that, but at the same time, it was such a completely different experience. It's like, well, I don't know if that's just the feeling of this new experience or if this is just overwhelming. She's a very caring, very, very nice person. And so, in talking with her, it's not that I feel bad if I just like stop talking to her, or ghosting her, that sort of thing. I'm not one to even do that in general with anyone.
Right.
Just where it's like, I'm just not going to stop talking, or I'm just going to stop talking to you. But it's I've just felt like we need to have it's relationships are about communication. So if we are building a relationship based solely on communication, how could you want anything more than that? Just someone who you're okay talking to about whatever, right? And then on top of that, making sure there's an understanding and not just saying it and seeing if
Right.
you
I
understand.
mean, and when you guys met, let's really think about it. That was the first big hurdle
Yeah.
of your
I'm gonna
relationship.
say, funnily enough, it's hard to put into words.
Right,
Right.
right. I mean, if you're gonna tackle something in a relationship and this is your hurdle, is just trying to even communicate. I mean, man, I would be apt to believe that your relationship is gonna be long, strong, and healthy.
Right.
Other than, when you fight. Now I can imagine now how this would go. I need to make sure she understands that I'm not happy. And you have to select a choice of words to make. So,
Well,
it takes the
interesting.
energy out of your fighting.
Yeah, well, I don't even say we even have like we wouldn't even have like fights. I would say it's more like disagreements, and she'll tell me what she disagrees with, and I'll explain my side of things. I'll either type it out or figure out a simple way to say it, because use the simple words, and you're not adding any sort of extra implication for anything. But she'll agree with what I say or disagree with what I say. I'll agree or disagree with whatever she says, and then we'll come to an understanding. It's like, well, maybe we'll just not do that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Hard reset.
Yeah, or of course, if it's something that I would like to do and she's not a fan of it, I'll make a case as to why I think I should continue to do it, and she'll be like, well, no, I don't think that's a good enough reason. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that is not a good enough reason.
Right. Yeah.
But damn, could you imagine, like, if I wanted like to swear at you, I would write it in pencil. And now I have to stop and think about what I'm actually mad at.
Yeah.
But it's giving me some cool down reflection. Like, I'm writing this and I'm going, oh, this ain't good. So you start erasing and you start, here, how about that?
Maybe
You know?
maybe that's another thing too, because I'm not one. I wouldn't say I get like mad. I'm sure there's some frustration from time to time. But
course.
I wouldn't say I ever get like mad. I may get upset about something, but in my experience with everything I've done, if you get mad, that just stops you from thinking. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you end up doing more damage. Then.
Exactly. So you got that cool down time and you don't have to write so many exclamation points.
Yeah, or
know what I mean?
or if she wants to say something and I'm upset about something and she's trying to say something, she'll be putting together a translation, and there's just like the silence of me thinking. It's like, do I think about something to respond to what she's saying? Do I know what she's going to say?
Right.
Well, I'm just going to take the path of I'm not going to know what she says, just so I'm not trying to not listen, think
Right.
about an answer before she responds.
Right.
'Cause then it's not communication at that point.
So how did the second date look? Were you both kind of like, okay, we're really going to do this?
Mhm.
You were just totally in.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very natural, just kind of coming together. I think one of the things that sticks out the most for me, though, it's after we've been seeing each other for a while. I like to go back to Iowa to visit my family for my birthday and stuff like that. And this is when we were dating, so we weren't close enough to be like, hey, do you want to take an 8-hour car ride with me? And visit my parents and stay in their house. So,
Yeah.
Right.
we had gone out to dinner and ate. I think it was like sushi or something like that. And I took her back to her house, and I was telling her, hey, so this weekend I'm going to go back to my parents' house for my birthday. And sentence sounds simple enough. And of course, you're already assuming when I'm saying I'm going to go visit my parents to for my birthday for the weekend, there's an assumption that I'm coming back.
Right.
Well, that didn't translate for me. It's just saying, hey, I'm going to go visit my parents for the weekend for my birthday. She thought I was going to like stay in Iowa because she heard I'm going to
okay.
Iowa,
Right.
yeah. And so she got really sad and started crying. And so I'm like, no, I'm coming back. It's okay. So,
Yeah.
and typed it out and translated. It's okay. Shushisha, relax, take a break, relax. And typed it out, and she said, okay. It was all happy again.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's a big culture difference for her,
Mhm.
right? Because I'm sure it's totally different in China. But when you say the simplest things like, I'm going to Iowa, and you don't readily explain yourself, like, and you put yourself in people in different countries, yeah, she's warranted, like, oh my God, I did something wrong in this, and now he's leaving me forever.
Now, so Mandarin Chinese, which is what I'm studying, is actually very similar to English as far as like the sentence structure. I mean, obviously, big difference is there's no alphabet, right? So if you want to read or write, you got to remember what the stuff looks like. But the sentence structure is the same. Another big difference is there's no like tenses, like past, present, future tenses. It's there are words that would, hint to essentially,
Right.
and then how you order that stuff kind of defines everything. And we have that as well. If I'm going to go visit, I'm going to go see, I'm going to go meet, I'm going to go stay. Those are all words of like going to, interact with someone, but those words can hint at like time and other stuff like that. And similarly in Mandarin, there's all sorts of different words to mean chat, visit, meet, see, that sort of stuff. You don't know if I'm saying, hey, I'm seeing them, whether I'm like looking at them or if I'm intimate with them, if
Right.
I'm gonna go meet with them for like an interview, that is more descriptive than just I'm seeing them,
You went back to China. Okay. Now,
I got to visit China.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yes. No, back to China like you
Yeah.
came from the
Back to the future.
you you met the in-laws.
Yeah.
And
So,
if wait, hold on. I know where you're going, but if I recall right, you said some shit that you weren't supposed to say, and you actually insulted somebody.
no. So her aunts and uncles are all over Fort Wayne. So she has a bunch of family here that she interacts with, and much like an Italian family,
Yeah.
Chinese families can be rather large. And her dad lives out in California with her grandparents, and her mom and her brother were out in China at the time in 2019. So we went and visited. Them, and it was great. It's a very rural part of China. It's on the border of Vietnam, and so I stuck out like a sore thumb.
I
It's
bet
not really
you
like
did.
Yeah.
a touristy place by any
Right.
means. So, I was very out of my element, and I thought it was kind of humbling because in the same sort of, or I should say, on the other side of the coin, right? You could look at that perspective similar to my wife here in America.
Correct.
Very out of her element. So it's
Correct.
like I could use this as a learning experience on top of other things. And I'm practicing and studying Mandarin Chinese, and in doing so, you learn that it matters how you pronounce things. So, you can the same word for mom, you can say it differently with a different inflection, and it could mean like horse or
That's what I thought it was.
yeah.
Your mother has the head of a horse or something.
Well, yeah. So it's mama, is mom, and then just the singular ma down and up is like horse. I'm pretty sure that's the inflection. But then beyond that, there's measure words, right? And this is kind of getting into whole grammatical stuff, but there are measure words for things. And so you don't just say ma for a horse, you say like EP ma or EP ma for a horse. sort of
Right.
thing. But yeah, it is all contextual. There's always a structure, and that's kind of what I like about Mandarin is you just get to say the word and it's just straightforward. There's no real, like there's other ways to say it, but when you say it like that, it's the direct meaning, and that's it.
I mean, let's
From my experience.
Yeah.
let's put ourselves, and I'm going back to day one here when you guys met. Let's put ourselves in her shoes, okay? Imagine the trust and the fear that comes over a person, and they truly don't know who you are. They don't know the culture as well. They don't speak a lick of the language.
Well, she does. She did speak English. I mean, we're having
Okay.
conversations. Yeah.
But even then, just to have the trust, that has to be the biggest thing, is to have the trust and conquer a fear on going in to meet a guy,
Yeah. Well, that could be said about anyone, even if they speak the same language. It's you're going out and you're meeting. I mean, for all intents and purposes, a stranger.
I mean, I guess that's true, but
I think he's more so like
somebody
out of the
could pull
water.
the wool over
Yeah.
you, or someone can just say things to you knowing you don't have 100%.
Yeah, like if I flew
You
to
know.
China and I was to go meet a woman there and I'm in their element, I don't speak a lick, maybe a few
Mm-hmm.
words. but it's a different element.
You
Versus
could be
being in-
totally in a deceitful thing,
Yeah.
or somebody could be leading you to your demise,
Yeah.
or like
it's different from being in the States versus in a different country. So you're there in that country and you're just like, man, you just okay. Who do I trust? What are they talking about me?
But just conquering the fear.
Yeah.
I mean, even being in your shoes, just conquering something about us that says if it's hard, we shouldn't do it.
Right.
Right.
If it's scary, we should not do that.
Well, you don't meet people that way.
You don't.
Don't.
Yeah.
Which goes back to my point of that is such a hurdle right off the bat. Okay, a language barrier, and we're gonna have to communicate. To even see if the relationship could work out, you're already throwing an obstacle.
Right.
Which is great because now I'm thinking about it. If I were to get into an argument with my wife now, we might want to just start writing stuff down.
Right.
It'll give you time to reflect on if you really want to say that.
Yeah. But I mean, did you guys go into immediately trying to find commonality?
Yeah. So I think at this point I've been at Sweetwater for a number of years. I'd think like three plus years at that. Yeah, definitely 3+ years over at that point. And I've learned that you got to be open with people if you expect them to be open with you, right? And
Vulnerable.
that could be, yeah. And to that effect, similarly, like again, at Sweetwater, if they don't feel like telling you something, well, one, there's a reason for that, and that could be you or it could be something else, right? And if you're presenting yourself as in the same boat as them, then the boat floats,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could. There are a ton of people out there, and if you meet someone where you're trying to be open and they're not, then to that effect, you would hope you would want to realize that they're not in the same boat at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
And did you ever ask, did it ever come to the point, and I'm sure it did, but was it sooner or later, did you come to a, like, what are your beliefs? Like, was that like anything?
No, we never really talked about beliefs or anything like that.
Do you know what hers are?
No. I know just from China in general, there's kind of it's always been a mix of like what Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. I think there's a few mixes there, and hey, as long as it's a good message, I'm
Right. You're all on
I'm fine
board.
with it. Yeah.
Now walk me through this. What did it look like when you took her on that 8-hour drive to meet your family for the first time?
Well, I've always found that to be a good test of, I guess, like I wouldn't say test of character, but a test of compatibility is like, can you be in the presence of someone and be comfortable just like not saying anything for a long
Right.
period of time? I'd say that's a good test of compatibility. You're right. It's you're comfortable enough to just be in the presence and sit there. So we turned on some music. I asked her what she liked, and she told me some songs, and I put them on, and we sung them, and it was a good time. And ask you, you're hungry, you need to go to the bathroom? Nope. And then just sit and drive and kind of let things happen.
Were you stressed at all on what I'm sure your family knows who you're investing your time with at this point, but were you kind of like, I hope this just goes the way it needs to?
Funny enough, I don't think I think that much.
Yeah.
I try not to be as stressed out, as possible.
And
because,
why?
Again,
Yeah.
Right.
that just takes away from the whole kind of like thinking thing. And if you're not thinking in general, and then you're kind of letting things do the stuff and let things happen, then by the time you have to think, you're like, well, I've gathered all this stuff. I'm going to think right now, and then you turn the thinking on and off. That's what I like to do. I don't like to be stressed.
Yeah. So you just kind of like let things happen as they go. Yeah.
And hey, if things are working out, everyone's having a good time, then great.
So what does the family think?
They love her. I mean, she's really nice. She's very sweet, very caring. Just what you would hope anyone would be when you're introduced to the parents. With Alina, there's a lot of superstitions, of course, and it's fun to interact with those. It's like it just makes things a little bit more. It's conscious on a subconscious level. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this instead. At least for me, it's a culture
Right.
difference. Kind of adding these superstitions to my day to day sort of
Yeah.
thing.
What are these?
Yeah, elaborate more on this.
Well, there's
superstition.
some. So like you like for lucky numbers, for example, 4 is not a lucky number because it's a what's the word it's a word that sounds like another word but has a different meaning. Like homonym, is that what?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So the word for death sounds the same like the number 4, and so it's not a lucky number. So something to steer away from if you're picking out lottery numbers or something like that. Table etiquette, with like chopsticks, for example, you don't want to put them, in like you don't just stick it in your bowl of rice. If you need to like go and get up and do something, you don't just stick it in your food because that symbolizes like incense you would put up at like a funeral, right? So it's another death thing. A lot of the superstition around death and
Wow.
Well, I don't want to be doing that. So if here's another thing too. People that use chopsticks, they get them and they like brush them together first. Is that bad?
I suppose it could be. I think that I do not know.
Yeah.
I think in Japan, I think that's something like if you're eating sushi, then that's like a
Frowned
etiquette
upon.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's done to potentially remove burrs,
Right,
for
right.
the like affordable chopsticks. But I don't know. I've never done that.
Yeah.
Well, now that I know,
Just know that if you're using chopsticks and you're not using them,
Yeah.
just set them on the table.
set them on the
Yeah.
table. Don't leave them in the bowl, people.
right.
Yeah, because there's like etiquette with like forks and knives and stuff. You
Right.
put them on either side, or
Yeah.
like if you're at a restaurant, and you are done, you put silverware like on the plate. I don't know if you.
No, I'm a barbarian when I go eat, man. I
Neanderthal,
have
too.
no
use a
damn
salad
etiquette.
fork and a dessert spoon.
A fork's a fork, a spoon's a spoon, and it's all being shoveled down my gullet.
Yeah. I think I grunt every time I get
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
So I'm gonna ask
I
you.
learned that from a lot of traveling. I funnily enough, I've gotten to do a lot of traveling like outside the country rather than inside the
Right.
country.
Yep, here comes the big old dumb barbaric American eating with his fingers and
licking his fingers.
yeah.
Yeah. What does watching movies look like?
Well, I've always been a fan of having captions on, so like Netflix, Hulu, what have you. I'll have the captions on, and if they offer it, I'll put it in Mandarin for her and then for me because it's a learning experience for me, and I'm hearing the English, and
Right.
I was like, well, I can read the sentence and it connects.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll even just put movies that I've seen that offer audio in Mandarin. I'll put that on, and then either I'll put the subtitles in Mandarin or English, just to kind of spice things up, and watch them that way. Just because, well, one, we're both engaged. We'll go out to movie theaters and we'll watch movies. That's all fine, just as long as it's interesting, exciting. She'll be into it.
Do you watch like her dialect type of movies? Like,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
okay. And then so you would just put it in the English subtitle.
Yeah, some of them will offer that, or I'll have the Mandarin Chinese, at the bottom there, and I'll try and piece along. I mean, you can get a good idea of what's going on just watching a movie,
Right.
But following along with the subtitles is fun. And then, of course, if you just get lost and you have no idea what's going on, it's almost just as exciting to make up your own story for
Right.
Yeah.
what's going
Right.
on.
I mean, that to me
That
is
is
like
awesome.
you are living in two different worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is your you're at work a lot, dude. What is your conversation like? Is it you guys speak more with physically like on the phone, or is it more like texting?
I'd say we do a fair bit of both. We'll call each other on the phone, and we'll just go back and forth between English and Mandarin. And when we're on the phone, when we're talking or texting, I know it's not polite, of course, but sometimes we'll speak in Mandarin if we're out and about, if we want to talk about something and don't want to the people
Right,
to
yeah,
listen.
yeah,
You
yeah,
never
yeah.
know who knows Mandarin, but
Right, yeah.
So I wouldn't suggest doing that. But I don't know, it's kind of fun, like having a secret language and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'd say it's a fair mix of both, just because both of us want to practice, so just work it in equally. So
What's your tool you're using to learn Mandarin?
I've used a bunch of different stuff. So I started on Duolingo. Hello Chinese was another one. Lingo Deer was one I really enjoyed.
Right.
I have some books, that talk about grammar, but of course you don't get audio examples when it comes to that sort of thing, but reading is good. There's another one that I use. I think it's called like Super Test. Let me look here. Yeah, Super Test. So that helps you prepare for the HSK tests, which are proficiency tests for Mandarin. I think there's like 6 or 7 levels. And so you can take these tests. They're, X amount of dollars. And if you pass them, you get a certificate. It's like, I am officially level 1 at speaking, Mandarin
Yeah,
Chinese.
right,
And
Yeah.
then it goes up, and I think by about like HSK 3 or 4, you're considered like proficient or something like that. So
Yeah, you could probably take that and go to China and become a teacher.
funnily enough, I had looked into going like teaching English in China. Just was like, well, what would happen, if I were to do that. And you don't actually need to know Mandarin to go out there and teach English, funnily enough. But because there's so many people going out there and doing that, or just in general going out and teaching English, it's also ripe with a lot of like scams and stuff like that.
Oh,
So you
okay.
got to really watch out. You think you're signing this contract, go to this thing, and then you get there and it's something completely different.
Right, right. Yeah. How different is the livelihood like in China versus the U.S.? I know you didn't go to any of the big cities, maybe,
Yeah.
but are the people just like us? Are they just as curious?
Yeah, it's
Just-
it's all the same. It was very easy to get around. Everyone's waking up. They got a morning routine. The family dynamic. It's big on taking care of your parents, and then when you're gone to work, your parents are taking care of your children. Which I think is a different thing here because you're all about like independence and
Right.
yeah, you're 18, get out of here. So I guess
Right.
some people are like that, but
yeah.
no, it's very much the same from my experience, even going to smaller towns.
That sounds very interesting because, yeah, we do that, don't we? We kick our young out, go fly on your own, become independent, go get in debt, go make mistakes.
I know that used to be the case, but now
Right.
there's a lot of people living with their parents again, and
Yeah.
whether or not they have families or not, is their prerogative. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much the same now.
So I would imagine she's sharing the holidays like Halloween and Christmas, like she's enjoying the holidays you cherish.
Yeah, and we celebrate all sorts of different Chinese holidays, which I'm I'm a big fan of that because it usually means a lot of foods.
Do you guys ever talk about high strangeness questions?
Not really.
No? You don't talk.
We're very in the moment.
Okay,
Right.
but you don't talk like paranormal or ghost or UFOs.
Ghost
or-
is another superstitious thing. You don't tend to talk about them too much.
Right.
Really?
And yeah, well, so I'm a fan of paranormal stuff, and I'm watching those things and seeing that stuff. It's fun content to watch. And there's a guy who he'll go out and check out like haunted places in China and go and. From what I've learned there, if you think you're interacting with a ghost, you're supposed to like act angry, like yell at them and be mean to them because then it scares them off.
Oh,
Rather than-
okay.
Yeah, instead of being like scared and like
Right.
running away, you got to show, you got to like insult them essentially.
Yeah,
So that's how
yeah.
I learned some swear words.
Oh well, that's different.
That is
Go
different.
insult ghosts. If you're ghost hunting, go out and if they start doing stuff, just tell them they're bad.
Yeah.
There's a I don't know if it's in Japan or if it's in China, but do you ever hear about the woods? There's like these certain woods area you just don't go where a lot of suicides
Yeah,
take
I think
place.
that's in China. Yeah.
Is it really?
Or no, sorry, Japan. I think it's
Japan?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the suicide forest.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever wanted to go and really test the limits, one would probably.
Yeah, I don't know if
I'll-
that's a limit I need to test. At
Yeah.
this point.
Right. Does she believe in ghosts? Do you believe? I know you believe in ghosts, right?
Well, I don't know if I've never had an experience, so I can't say for certain. I like watching this stuff and kind of think about it, but I don't know if there's a I would say believe. That's kind of a bit of a strong word. But I'd like to think there would be, but
Right.
I don't know.
Right. If you, well, one, she doesn't talk to you about it. So I'm going to ask you if you did see something that's not really tied to this reality, how do you think you'd react?
That's a tough one because I guess I'd have to realize that it would be like not a part of this reality. You know, I mean, I may have experienced something and then just not committed it to memory. You know, I don't know. I don't think about those things too much.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, is it because it's just not interesting, or is there
Well, no,
some part that it just you're afraid to even
I'd
consider?
say it's an interesting thought. I wouldn't say I'm afraid by any sense of the word, but I don't know. It's like I don't know what I would get out of thinking about it. You know,
Okay.
it's like
Yeah.
if I'm thinking about death, I'm living, right? So I'm not going to experience my thoughts to know if they're true or not. So I just don't think about it.
Yeah. You think you would freak out though if you like? Have you ever had an experience where you're like, man, that was weird? What was that?
Maybe I don't know. I walk through a lot of like I do the haunted houses and the haunted forests and stuff, and those are really cool. But I mean, as far as actually experiencing something, I probably did not remember it.
Okay, so it wasn't profound enough for you to
no,
sit
I
here.
haven't had like it's
Yeah, I don't think I want one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I think
That's-
I'm doing
yeah.
just
I wouldn't
fine
mind
without
going
that.
out. I mean, I've heard of haunted places. I'll go out there. When I first moved out here, I looked up like haunted ghost towns of Indiana, you know,
Right.
and then me and a friend from work, we did just a day where we would drive around Indiana. Essentially, we just did a road trip, just driving around Indiana to these haunted ghost towns and walking around and seeing what it's all about, and ate a lot of food, listened to a lot of music.
Right.
You know?
So, but I mean, you do find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's
you know?
interesting. It's another
Yeah.
interesting thought.
But
to
you
have.
never prepared your psyche for the just in case moment.
No.
Yeah.
I like that about you. I'm kind of jealous.
Just live in the moment.
Yeah. I can't turn it off. I'm always living in, I don't want to say like a precog type visions,
Mm.
but I'm always like, and my wife knows this, I'm high security and I'm always what if,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is going to lead me to the next question. What if, and this could possibly happen, I believe, all of a sudden there's a huge craft in the sky
Mm.
and Nick's like, okay, that's there.
Yeah.
That's real.
Dang, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever ponder those questions? Like what would you do? Would you be like the so-called 85% of people and just panic, freak out?
Yeah. Again, I've always been I'm sure there'll be like an initial panic, like, oh dang, or insert, swear words here, there, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, is it doing anything, when
Right.
you're looking at it? And then I'd probably, I don't know, call my parents. You're like, hey, are you seeing this too? Is this over you as well? No? Are you
Right.
anything in the news? No? Okay. Then I'd probably just start like, make sure my cat's okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Are you here? Are you at work? Why don't you come home?
Right.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So there is a part of Nick that goes, well, I'm not going to freak out.
Right.
Is this doing anything? But if no one else is seeing it and you're making all of these wazoo phone
Sure.
calls, now you're an isolated individual.
Correct. Yeah. I know. I'd probably collect the things that I care about, I guess. I was just so I know that I can take account of them without thinking about it.
Right.
Right.
So just because we don't know the intention of his craft, Nick just wants the comfort to know that his family and friends are at least okay and in the presence of him as everybody takes this all
Yeah.
in.
It's
Right.
like, hey, I'm seeing this. Give me a call
Right.
in like 20 minutes. I
Well,
guess.
so you're not perceiving a threat then,
No.
per se.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing to threat about if it's
Well,
not
yeah, if
doing
it's
Anyone
anything.
can go floating out in the sky, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if this thing is the size of a damn football stadium,
Sure.
you know, I mean,
I think at that point though, it just shatters everybody's paradigm and your whole understanding of what you thought was, you know, taboo
yeah.
is actually staring you in the face.
right.
No one can no longer say, "Oh, your lying eyes told you otherwise."
And I just haven't. When I posed this question, I still haven't met anyone who answered they would panic.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, where the hysteria would come from.
I like to think that space is so big that and so infinite, and with infinite, nothing has a chance of not happening, right? Something will happen.
Mhm.
It's not a big chance, but it's not like impossible, right?
Right.
We're
Right.
going to deal with infinity. So I like to think, sure, the space is big enough for people or things or what have you to, you know, cruise around and do stuff, but we're too primitive to even
Yeah,
bother. You know,
right,
it's like
yeah.
we're like you know, a sign on the road as you pass by. It's like, oh, you know, there's
Right.
that art installation, humans.
So you, so
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're saying they could be so far ahead of us. It would be like trying to explain ourselves to an ant on an ant hill.
Sure, or even like even if you want to look at it from like a dimensional standpoint, right? It's like there are, you know, microscopic beings here. We're never interacting with them. They're never interacting with us. You know,
Right.
but we know they're there because we can see them, but they can't, you know, see us because of how like large we are, the scale, right? So
Right.
similar with dimensions, we are in 3 dimensions. If there's another multi-dimensional being, they'll probably be able to see us, but because we can't see that dimension, we can't
See them.
see them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact the 4th dimension sits, and Marilyn's probably going to correct me on this, 1/100th of a thousandth of an inch off of our nose at any given time.
Hmm.
So essentially, the fabric is so thin, there's a possibility that if there's life form in the 4th dimension,
Mm.
it can rip through our fabric, and that may be an apparition,
Like a veil.
like a veil.
Like pantyhose on your head, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Or, I mean, I was going to say
And
something.
then poke through the
Yeah,
pantyhose.
yeah.
Okay.
Some Three Stooges type stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, what's there to say that there's other dimensions interacting with us all the time, but we can only see so far in the spectrum?
Well, we know that to be true as far as the human visual spectrum. We can only see so much of it, and look how broad it is.
Yeah, so if that's the case, would they be ghosts or would they be aliens?
Right.
Or would,
right.
I mean, or would they just be
Classifications.
life form that's always
Been here, and we just don't have the tools to
to
recognize it.
comprehend it? I think there's a reason why we can only see so much of the spectrum. Could you imagine being able to see 100% of all of the things that go around us? I think it would literally fracture our minds.
You're talking like the mantis shrimp and how it sees like all the different spectrum colors and what have you. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Like how does that
I didn't even know that.
how does
Nick.
that life form not fold
Right.
under all that data? You know, because it sees the entire spectrum.
Well,
I was watching something on the old Tickle Tackles the other day, and they were talking about like the soldiers that were like watching the first like nuclear test, right? And they didn't know what exactly it was going to be, so everyone was just really scared. And they said, "Hey, everyone, you know, don't look at the blast. You know, cover your eyes, cover your ears. We're going to do this test or whatever." And so they did the test, and of course there was, you know, huge light, and then people were seeing their bones through their eyelids just because of all the x-rays that are coming away from the nuclear blast. I was trying to picture that. I was like, you know, just trying
wild.
to see through my
Yeah.
eyes, like, what would my bones look like? You know, because I've seen
Right.
x-rays, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Would it be black with the, you know, the kind of white beigey, you know, bone thing, or
Right.
would I like see my skin and then just see
Like-
the bone on top
like
like a cartoon?
translucent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would
right,
be like
yeah,
a cartoon.
right.
Who knows? You know,
And then so, and we're gonna wrap this up soon, but I have a couple of more before we go. This is one of them. I thought about what we are as human beings, and this is deep thinking, Nick. Go with me.
All right.
Okay. What if our consciousness, the source of us, is ethereal in a way that we're translucent? We are traveling the cosmos. We come across the third dimension in a planet, and our ethereal bodies are much like translucent, all-knowing consciousness, squid-like structure, if you had to put a structure to the energy form. And we can not only harbor the third dimension, but we can essentially integrate ourselves with these bodies and have this experience. So technically our consciousness is actually the alien having an experience
All right.
in a different planet, a different dimension, and we're collecting this as a knowledge base.
Okay.
Is that far-fetched?
I wouldn't
Is
say
it
so.
far? Is it far-fetched from having a soul? Is it far-fetched from being like, maybe we're not from here, maybe we don't fit here, but this is how we can experience it?
Yeah, well, to the same point, if that was the case, I would say not to think too much. Just
Enjoy the
be
experience.
in the experience, yeah, because
Right.
soon enough you'll be off doing something else, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
life's too short to do what ifs.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really is.
But is it? But I think that's part of humanity is to explore.
yeah, we're
things.
always curious.
We're
Yeah.
always curious. You know, I think if we don't explore things, then how do you get people like Einstein?
Sure.
You know, or Newton, or Galileo, or
I got an
Pythagoras?
even deeper question, and I'm gonna take us right field.
Mm.
Is there a reason why you didn't take Lena to like Panda Express because she would just insult the shit out,
We've
insult
gone
the
to
shit
Panda
out of
Express, yeah.
Okay, so what does she think about Panda Express? Is that like the rundown generic version of Chinese food?
No, it's a different approach to traditional Chinese cuisine, but like typical American fashion is just always too much sugar.
Oh,
I knew it. I knew there was a hidden agenda with our American
the sugar, man. That's a total different drug game.
Is there any dish that she likes to go to eat at Panda Express and says, this is acceptable? This is something we would eat in China.
I don't know.
I hope it's not
We
the
ha-
steamed vegetables.
We haven't been to Panda in a while, but I would say probably like the lo mein. I like the lo mein.
I like the lo mein too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about that mushroom chicken?
She'll probably think it's fine. She's not big on eating chicken meat. It's more of like a chicken soup sort of thing.
Okay.
We like beef and pork.
Okay, now I have that Panda Express in my, and I know what real Chinese food is and tastes like. But when you go back to China, what was like one of the dishes you ate there that was just like, oh man, I've never even remotely tried this in the States?
We had a bunch of seafood, right? So because of where the town was at, it's right next to the sea that's there. So lots of different seafood sort of things, like different shellfish, octopus, these little like squids, you know.
Yeah.
That was my first experience doing like whole steamed fish. So, you just take the fish out of we were at this restaurant and they had the fish out in the front tank, and you walk in, we're like, we'd like that one. They pull it out, they throw it on the ground, bah, hit it with the hammer, and they take it out back, and you get your drinks. And like 10, 15 minutes later, there's a steamed fish with, ginger and scallions and green onions and soups and sauces all over
That
it.
sounds
And
amazing.
it was everything was super fresh.
Was there any
all the time.
sugar involved?
More, yeah. So I mean, I've looked up a bunch of recipes because she's a bit of a picky eater. She don't like me saying that, but she's a
Right.
picky eater. So I'm like, well, if you're tired, and I'll cook. I love looking up recipes and learning stuff, and so I've looked up a couple like. I wouldn't say authentic, but like traditional Chinese cuisine, and they all work in like a wee bit of sugar, but that's to balance off, an immense amount of spice or sourness like vinegar or pickling
Right.
or stuff like that. It's always the balance, the main part of what's going on, and also it's a lot of it's vegetable heavy with meat as a side rather than like meat is the main and vegetables is the side. So.
Right.
okay.
Right.
And rice is the vessel.
And what's the
Yeah, it
dessert?
is.
Is there a dessert?
Desserts mostly like fruit for the most part, or maybe
Okay.
like a tea or something. Yeah, but
Okay.
Yeah. What?
not
what?
like there is ice cream,
Right.
You know, but that's not like everyone's got that in their
Yeah.
fridge or whatever. It's generally like
Jeez.
a fruit or a juice or something.
Right.
Okay.
Sunflower seeds.
And that's how I imagine the normal day to day food would be like, or just their lifestyle, not their diet, just their lifestyle of the way they eat.
Well, and the portions are different as well. You know,
Smaller.
we get like troughs here. You know, if you go out to I don't know KFC,
Said
you're sticking
troughs.
Troughs.
Yeah, you
I
go
feel
into-
like a pig now. Like
You go into KFC,
Gotta go home
you
to
get
the
a bucket
trough.
of gravy, you get
Yeah.
a sandwich with 2 pieces of chicken as the bun. You know,
Right,
Yeah, I heard about that thing.
they brought it back and it's delicious.
Oh, have you had it? It's just, it's
Nick
just
would know. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a heart attack in the wrapper is what it seems. Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate that she would like to share her diet with me and her cuisine because that's going to help me. I need it. You know. So
Yeah.
you gotta
I'm
bring
afraid-
them-
No, because Nick doesn't
Good,
think about ifs. Remember, he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm in the moment.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in the moment. I'll eat it. Yeah, sure.
I would
yeah.
just be scared to go to China and eat because I know I probably would never get full. I have like I can eat, and you know, I'm a big guy, and I'm not.
Well,
like,
then you'd like hot pot because that's like fondue, you know.
Yeah.
But you the broth and you get plates of like sliced beef, lamb, you know, really thin sliced. They got little rolls and stuff. Vegetables, you just toss it in the broth, let it cook like with the beef, 30 seconds or so, pull it out, eat it. You can go through a whole table of stuff and not realize it. You know, it's like I ate a whole head of lettuce right here. You know, I didn't
Right.
recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the 3 downhill questions. Who taught you to love?
Who taught me to love? I guess as odd as it sounds, I'd have to be myself because that's very much an experience thing. I've experienced affection, right?
Right.
But as far as what my inner perspective on what love is, that's totally a self experience. You know, I felt affection on me. I wouldn't know if it was love or not unless they told me, you know,
Right.
explicitly, and that's their version of love given to me, right? But with
Right.
me, I think it would be more of an experience and a self-taught sort of thing.
So you kind of rejected influencers.
Well, with influencers, they're sharing their experience, right?
Right.
And it's to potentially influence you one way or another, whether that influence works or not. And works is, of course, is very loose subject. Is did it influence you to buy it? Did it influence you to do it? Did it influence you to, you know, whatever, right? I would be fine with that, and if you know, if like it. They're convincing enough, you know, explanation of why it would benefit me. Sure, yeah.
Right.
I've
I
been
don't-
influenced, but I wouldn't say that's like a love thing.
Right. But I don't think your mother would be an influencer. Like I can see why people say they get love from their mother because she's the first one to
Yeah, they
imprint
receive
that.
affection, right?
Right.
And then you learn from that experience, like, oh, if I want to love someone, I should provide that type of affection because that is what's given to me, right?
Right.
But I wouldn't say she taught me to think like that. That's me, you know. It's like, well, hey, I like being treated like this. I would assume other people would like to be treated like this.
Right.
So yeah.
Can you describe your love for your wife? Like, is there, if somebody asked you to describe it, to say, hey, how do you know you love your wife? Like, can you describe it?
That's a tough one.
Yeah. It's always more of a feeling based, I would say.
Yeah, I would say if I had to describe it, it would be the same sort of experience as like you wake up and your first thought is, you know, you look over and she there? Okay, good. You know, she's there. And when you come home, you know, the first thing, at least for us, you know, we call out to each other. You know, I walk in, I go, dear, you know, dear, and then it's always like the first thought. That's what I guess I would
Yeah.
accumulate our or at least my feelings for her. As I'm sure she would word it differently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
my affection and love to her is the first thought. She's the first thought.
Okay.
That's good.
And she shows her affection, I imagine. I would
course,
imagine
yeah.
well, right? Because I'm pretty sure you guys had nothing but facial expressions for the most part.
There, there's interactions. So we'll sit next to each other on the couch, or we'll lay down together in bed.
Right.
If I'm in the music room, for a period of time, she'll come in and check on me. It's like, "Are you doing okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah.
She'll want to sit with me. She'll want me to go sit with her. It's, again, being comfortable around someone without necessarily having to, I can bring my music out in the living room, and we can sit there. I can have my headphones on and diddly around, and she could be watching TV or doing a dance or something, and
Right.
we're doing something completely different, but we're just in the same room.
Yeah, just to know
sharing
that
the
you're
same space.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to be in that space together.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
Who taught you to hate?
Well, again, hate is probably like a strong one, and I would say it's more of like a disappointment or an upsetness rather than a hate. I think if I were to truly hate someone, I'd be way out of my element and not thinking.
Right. I like that answer.
Yeah, but again, it was experience of like someone did something to me. It's like, boy, I didn't like that. It's not that I don't like people that do that to other people. It's like I don't like that is happening to other people, right?
Right.
So then either you do something about it or not. So at that point,
Yeah.
I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
hate's a bit of a strong.
It's a
word.
very
Yeah.
strong word, and I hate even using the word hate.
Yeah.
That's an acceptable use right there.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
You
I
can hate
ju-
using the word.
I
hate.
just feel like, and maybe we should ask that question different.
No, because I mean that's just.
But that's how you get to the root
Yeah,
of
that's
it,
how
I
you get
guess.
to it.
Yeah.
because everyone, I suppose, would
Identify with the word.
or experience it differently.
differently.
Right.
Yep.
Whether it's projected on them or they actually hate something. Yeah. Okay. Here's the last one. The last one is a big one. It's one of the new questions I've come up with. Before you pass this world, there is a rule, and we all have to abide by it. You have to have a different perspective on this planet through the eyes of something other than a human being. What is it?
Before you leave this world, you have to have a perspective
A different perspective other than being a human being.
other than being.
What do you choose? Is it a bird? Is it a sea? Is
Yeah.
it sea life? Is it
I would like the perspective of, let's say, it's someone hearing a piece of music for the first time that moves them to tears.
ooh?
Okay, but not human form.
But
Well,
that's-
right. No, that's the experience of
Okay.
someone having that, like the feeling of that, not the person themselves experiencing it, but
You want that?
I want to be
the emotion.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I want to be that experience.
Wow.
That's good. I'm thinking about that. That
I mean, we had a guy sit
That's
down
good.
here last night for the Bourbon Podcast and said, I want to be water.
yeah. He wants to be everywhere, every place, at any given time.
And to be responsible for everything.
Mm.
Like, let's just think about how responsible that is. But I never would have sat and thought about being an actual
Emotion.
emotion or a
An
feeling.
experience, yeah.
An
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I suppose, I mean, I don't know if it ever happened to you. If you listen to a piece of music and you're not exactly thinking about something in general, but it's just stirring something up inside
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday.
Yeah, and that is a very unique experience. Whether or not it's a good or a bad one, it's a unique one.
Right.
So I like that.
And it's for you. It doesn't have to be for the world. It's just something unique and specifically designed for you.
And
Right.
potentially inspirational.
Yeah.
Yes. I know for a fact the wife and I have a song. We don't play it a lot, but I know and she knows, and we don't have to say one word.
Mm-hmm.
When I play that song, you might want to timestamp this because I cannot think of the guy's name. And I know you know who I'm talking about, but it does something to us. and it almost reassures our love for one another, you know? And I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know that feeling,
Yeah.
but
I know that one because my wife and I, we have one, and it's by Dave Matthews, and it's called Lover Lay Down. And that, I mean, shit, when we met in 2005, I was heavy into Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
And so that song sticks out to us. No matter where we are, we play it or he plays it live and they go into the jam portion of it.
Right.
I whistle certain keys from the sax and she knows certain, you know, it's just that song puts us back when we first met. Like you could, out of all the songs we like, that one is what we share. That is our moment. Yeah. And it's funny how music can take you back in time.
Right.
To the day of what you were doing.
And experience
it all over again.
Right.
Kind of like a smell.
Right.
Yeah.
What's
But-
up with that?
Yeah. and why? Well, I would have to imagine that those feelings are so profound. The mind has to store it because it made such an impact just for you to even remember.
Right.
You
But
know?
like he was saying with the smell and the music, it kind of reminds me of a form of time travel. I mean, consciously, I can think about it. I can put myself, I can feel the situation. It brings up these emotions. Are we time traveling back to a emotion that happened in the past? Because it instantly sparks. You put yourself
yeah.
there. Yeah.
You're re-envisioning a memory.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't,
And that's how I read books now. I'm not very good at like sitting down and reading. I don't guess I don't have the patience for it anymore. But I still like to try, you know, and I find that stuff interesting. But I feel like I have to like smell the book, you know.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't smell like a Scholastic book fair, then it's like, well, maybe I won't like this book. Or
Right.
like maybe I
Right.
don't have enough. It's like smell. It's like, oh, that makes me want to read, you know.
Yeah. So that's funny how you can tie smells to things that give you inspiration. I mean, to me, that's wild. And like when we're doing this music, and I know you understand the concept for years of what we've been talking about, and we're finally finishing up the music, but that's the whole thing we wanted to do when we go out and perform this music live. Not only are you getting this audio, but you're getting this visual, and I feel like everybody needs a soundtrack, you know, for their life, or to at least reflect. And I can remember almost any piece of music in the past and go, that was the perfect type of genre for my life then.
Yeah.
You know?
that was the soundtrack of my 20s.
Right. Soundtrack of my 30s.
One thing I've always found interesting, I guess it'd be interesting to experience. I don't know if I'd like it or not, but I was talking with a client of mine the other day, and I found out that they have synesthesia. I think is how you say it. So it's like they can see sound. So it's like if you listen to, I don't know, Canon and D, right? There's like purples and blues, you know, like swirling around, stuff like that. Yeah, I guess everyone envisions differently, but I think synesthesia would be really interesting to
It would.
experience.
That right there sounds like, how come we weren't all born with that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
do you think we would fare? I know we have to go here, but I got to say this because you just brought up something fascinating. Do you think we would fare better if we didn't have vision, but we can totally see sound, like
Well, there's-
echolocations?
There's the better thing again, right? So it's subjective.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. But I would think we would have less issues with each other.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a benefit or detriment to the human well-being.
Right.
It would certainly be an experience.
It would.
It would.
Well, blind people live like that now, you know?
Yeah, but are they seeing sound?
I mean, you can't ask a blind person what he's seeing because he can't describe it because he's never had this.
Well, it depends. Were they
vision.
blind at birth or did they go
I'm
blind
saying
over
at
time?
birth.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
that's
saying
true.
I'm saying at birth,
At
like
birth.
they don't know anything. How are they even able to describe something to you when they don't?
I've heard stories that the people that haven't seen from or since birth, like they literally see things.
Well, there was an interesting thing. I was a little article I was reading, and it was like they were exploring different questions. It was how would you describe color to a blind person? Right.
How would you?
Right. And so some of the, I think it was the best examples. And the one I can remember, it's like If you want to think about how red looks, stand outside and
Warm.
feel the sun
Warm.
on your skin.
I was going there. Yeah. Put a blanket around
Yeah,
them.
you don't actually use like things, you use experiences. And like for blue, you go to the ocean and put your toes in the water. That vast expanse of cool mellowness is blue, right? Like, oh, that's really interesting.
Green, go walk in the lawn barefoot.
Somebody actually thought about those.
Yeah. Yeah. For green, go out in your front lawn and walk barefoot and feel green, like grass, you know.
I don't know if that one will work.
I mean, we're doing blue in the water.
yeah.
How come mine won't work?
yeah. I think
It was a
black-
really interesting article.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think black would be like, you want to know what the color black is? I mean, just get out of the sun, put a blindfold on.
Well, they're already doing that.
I don't know, but like shit. How do you describe black?
And maybe like a summer night, right? The crickets chirping in the distance. That's maybe like a silence, right?
Yeah.
Black is a silence.
A void.
A void. Yeah. Interesting.
Hell, you guys get the picture.
Interesting.
Nick, you got any last words before we end this ding-on podcast?
Yeah, if anyone watches Spinal Tap, Viv Savage quote, it's great. Have a good time all the time. Yeah, it's
Have a
There
good, and stop the what ifs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what about for people who are wanting to talk to someone from a different background? Any advice to get them going forward and not fear the unknown?
Don't be afraid to ask open-ended questions, right? That's more than just like a yes or no.
Right.
So why are you doing that? Or how do I do this? Open up, I guess you got to have the curiosity rather than
Yeah.
just the want,
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, what did you do today?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Just get it out there.
Yeah.
Kind of force some dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think about what I do.
Obviously, you don't do.
Yeah, I don't
anything that doesn't come-
anything.
Yeah. I like how you even came into the podcast. Like, I have never done this before. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll just see what happens.
I didn't even bother asking what questions you guys are going to
Yeah.
ask.
Half the time, we don't know what questions we're going to ask.
Yeah. You should know us by now.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, get a hold of Nick at Sweetwater. The editor will leave his information up. I mean, if you're just remotely into music and you want to create anything, or even the podcast, all of our stuff came from Sweetwater. They'll walk you through it.
It's a great place. Sweetwater's not sponsoring this podcast.
No, they are not, but they gave us a great run
It's
of
a
life.
hell of a place.
Yeah.
And you know where I'm going with this.
Where are you going with this?
Like the channel.
Subscribe.
Milady.
That should have been done at first. My lady.
Gentlemen.
Ring the bell. It's custom around here. You
Yeah,
ring the
you
bell.
must ring
Come
the
on,
bell.
Nick.
I'll do
you know.
two. Ready?
Two. Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
There it
Yeah.
is.
I like
Such
that.
a unique way of doing it.
Yeah. He got fancy with
Yeah,
it.
it is.
Yeah.
And the Patreon is up.
The Patreon
You
is up.
too can donate whatever you can to help this podcast stay afloat.
Yeah. Donate.
I would like it if you would donate because it would mean that I could do this full time.
Yeah. Being a cop ain't really.
It's not what it used to
you
be
know.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Help me help me.
Yeah. I'm gonna hell, I don't even know what I'm gonna do.
He's just going to sit there and do what he does all
I'm
the
just
time.
gonna do what I do, write music, and I will provide a piece of heaven for when you come back from tour every week.
Is that what we're going to call my stand out
Yeah.
job is a tour?
You're doing a tour for Mankind while burnt out, but there's still a love for it. So the universe is telling you you're not done until we think you're done. But until then, until you get your Patreon going and people coming to see your music, we'll cut you loose. But for now, your brother's gonna make sure you have a nice, comfortable place to play your music.
I feel like I'm getting the poor end of the stick on this. So, universe, please hurry up.
Yes.
But with that said,
Yeah.
peace, y'all. Peace.
Peace.